Welcome to Marianne Sasaki, Life in the Law, ThinkTech.com. We have some illustrious guests today, and I don't often do this, but I need my notes in order to remember all their credentials. To my left, I have Jan Boivin, who is the Associate Vice President of Administration Compliance, Chief Equity Officer, Associate General Counsel at Hawaii Pacific University. I have Lyle Fong, who is engaged parent and coordinator of a high school workshop at his daughter's high school with respect to sexual assault. I must say that this is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And at the very end, I have Marites McKee, who is the Dean of Students. And as I told her before the show, she looks much more approachable than the Dean of Students at Columbia when I went there, but it was a long, long time ago. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And we're here to talk about Sexual Assault Awareness Month and just sexual assault awareness. And I guess, Jan, I asked you earlier, when we talk about sexual assault, what do we talk about?
So in the higher education landscape, we're all, Marites and I are from Hawaii Pacific University, and in 2011, the Department of Education issued some pretty disturbing statistics that indicated that when young women get to college, nearly 20% of them will experience either actual sex assault or attempted sex assault.
I read that.
And actually that includes, the statistics include a 6% number for undergraduate males as well. So it is a male and female issue. So when the DOE released those statistics in 2011, they relied on a study that was conducted in 2007. That study also indicated that alcohol played a great role in sex assault, and that for cases involving physical incapacitation, specifically 89% of the cases involved a victim who had ingested some form of alcohol.
Really? And I should ask, I think I know the answer, but that's reported cases. So yes. We need to think about if that's the number of reported cases, there's some algorithm of other cases that people just aren't coming forward and discussing. So
yes.
That's a sobering thought.
And so one of our challenges is to encourage reporting.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 2011, those statistics and the DOE's highlighting of this topic shaped the higher education landscape for us. And you saw all of that culminate with regulatory changes in 2014. And you have more information that's been released through the President's office you might hear things like It's On Us or some other national campaigns as well as other local campaigns from Hawaii's Sex Abuse Treatment Center or other organizations that help educate the community. So when I think of sex assault when it comes to higher education, we as university officials want to educate our rising freshmen or incoming freshmen, and we've tried to keep ahead of the regulatory changes and implement best practices when it comes to trying to find out what our campus climate is like, what are our freshmen experience with alcohol, for example.
Right, alcohol is, it's abused to a shocking degree on undergraduate campuses.
So, and that awareness piece is what we've been focusing on. And in the last year or so, we've also been focusing on earlier education. So part of our campaign or educational campaign is to try to get the word out, especially with high school seniors who are about to go maybe away to the mainland to be alone for their first time, to talk with their parents and have that maybe uncomfortable conversation, but talk story on this topic.
Right.
And that's kind of what brought us together
Right.
as a group.
Well, Lyle, you have firsthand experience with early education in this area. Do you want to talk a little bit about the workshop you coordinated and what kinds of things you were able to accomplish? Or
yeah, it was kind of an interesting development. About 2 years ago, my daughter, who was a senior back in high school, I was thinking, okay, how can we help her, prepare? And one of the things at her high school, it's a college prep school, a lot of the students were taking summer PE class. It all kind of started in an odd kind of way. But I thought, why take PE during the summer? It's for fun. There's no real depth to it. So I was looking at trying to push, say, the summer program directly, hey, have something in self-defense.
Sure.
Rather than knowing how to do kickball or played tennis.
Right.
Do something more practical, because that kind of leads into their preparation for college in a way, at least in life.
Sure.
And so with that, I was thinking, oh, self-defense, that would be good, but I was kind of biased because it was my daughter, and so knowing that she and her friends may be bored with that, it would be, I'll throw in yoga, throw in aerobics, that kind
Something
of
they
thing.
might be interested in.
And just about that time, there are some stories on the mainland, that there are some sexual assaults in college. There's one instance at Indiana University where an actual freshman got abducted and was killed. And that was due to, well, the short story is that she arrived at a dinner party at a restaurant with her friends, or to meet her friends. Her friends saw her really drunk. They sent her off in a cab, but no one went with her. No one.
Right, accompanied
one
her.
found-
No,
yeah.
no sober person accompanied
And-
her.
Yeah, and so the following day they found her killed.
Assaulted by the cab driver, or?
They don't know really, but they found the guy.
Okay.
And so with that, there are those stories, and then locally there is a story on the news, local news, about date rape drugs, and that kind of just amplified more so to try and do this self-defense, date rape drug
Right,
awareness kind of
awareness,
thing
yeah.
before they go off to college. And so I had this outlined and spelled out, but time went on. I procrastinated. It got down to where, oh, my daughter's going to graduate in 3 months, and so it got down to, oh boy, it can't be a summer session program. It's
Right.
got to be some kind of short workshop.
Right.
And so I emailed some of my friends who were dads, had daughters, and also my daughter's classmates and their parents, who I kind of knew. There was about maybe 20 parents, and I just kind of fielded, hey, I'm looking at doing this thing. What do you guys think? And all of them said, yeah, it's great. You got to do it. I'm
But was it
there.
only for girls, or was it for boys and
See, I was
girls?
biased, so initially it was.
Yeah, because
And-
I would imagine
Yeah.
boys could benefit tremendously from it as well.
And so so initially it was, of course, I was kind of biased because my daughter, and I have 2 girls, and as I was thinking through it, was really educating even the guys about it, and that's
Sure.
and that's where it turned from just girls to everyone, and then parents. And so I got to I tried talking to the school officials and kind of explained to them, hey, I'm looking at doing this workshop, but they shut me down.
Really, what was their what was
And
their issue?
Because I didn't have any speakers, I didn't have any content. It was just an idea.
Right. You needed a business plan
Yeah.
or a plan.
Yeah, something more, thorough.
Substantial, yeah.
And so I was really discouraged, but all the parents said, no, we'll help you. And sure enough, there's maybe a handful of parents that had contacts, who were experts in the field, and that's how I met Jan.
Oh, that's
and
terrific.
Marites.
Oh, that's terrific.
And so one of the soccer dads that I know, his daughter is my daughter's classmate. He's an attorney, knew Jan. We set up a meeting, and that first meeting was awesome. I mean, they were kind of surprised, why are these 2 high school dads doing this? And I was like, ooh, I guess that's a good question. But when they started presenting, hey, we do this already for incoming freshmen, we have a facility, because my daughter's school didn't want to have anything to do with it yet. And so we partnered, and they drew an outline, and they had one of their Title IX coordinators set up, Jan and Marites, and your staff was setting up the outline, and everything fell into place, and we kicked
Terrific.
off the first workshop. It was really an inaugural kind of first time ever kind of workshop.
Tremendously exciting. I mean, and tremendously important to the community.
Yeah.
So, what kinds of skills do you teach, or what does the program look like? What would a Title IX coordinator do? That's, I guess, is my question.
Wow, that's it really tries to look at the whole landscape of prevention to education to when there are cases that actually come about, is there trends happening? What can we do to address those if there are trends? Are there opportunities to capitalize on situations where we need to then intervene even sooner than later? So a lot of proactive and reactive, and really engaging the community as a whole. I mean, that's all you can do really on this topic, because it's a very personal topic, and one that you can't, have people just speak up about it. That's why it's so underreported. Right.
Well, people, they think they're the only person that this thing ever happened to, and there's so much I shouldn't have taken that cab home, or I shouldn't have gone to that party, or maybe I shouldn't have worn this. I mean, there's so much self blame, and so people really need to be able to understand it's society's problem, it's a community's problem. It's not one person. It's not one person's problem to bear. So
absolutely, and you have to partner with the families out there, with the community organizations who champion these topics, to universities having such a big stake, because you have young emerging adults, right? Making so many decisions that maybe impact them within a day, within the week, and then it impacts their entire life. And so, and when alcohol is ripe for sort of the experimental time, and then you have opportunities where you're not making those clear decisions. So there is a big movement on bystander intervention.
That's terrific.
That's happening.
That's terrific. We'll talk more about bystander intervention when we come back after a quick break. You're watching ThinkTechHawaii.com.
Aloha! Hello, my name is Patrick Bratton. I'm host of Global Connections here at ThinkTech Hawaii. We broadcast live every Thursday at 1 p.m. We bring Hawaii to the world and the world to Hawaii, talking about international events and various things of interest to the audience. Please join me. I look forward to talking with you and having you get to meet some of my guests. Aloha.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard. My show on ThinkTech is Center Stage. I interview artists of all different ilk on the show, and we talk about what they do and how they do it. Those are both really fascinating. What I find most fascinating about all of my interviews is talking to people about why they do what they do, what the process does for us, what the actual artistic process is. I hear all the time from people that they watch the show and they feel inspired. My guests tell me a lot that they feel inspired to go home and create something new and exercise, flex that artistic muscle. And I hope you will too. I hope you'll join us on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock on the ThinkTech Hawaii digital series.
Hi, you're watching Life in the Law with Marianne Sasaki. I'm joined today with Jan Boivin, Lyle Fong, and Marites McKee, and we're discussing the very important issue of sexual assault on campuses and what we can do about it, how we can prevent it, early prevention. And we were just talking about community intervention, or bystander intervention, as you called it. And so, if I'm seeing something that I think this is going to be a problem, what do I do? What do I do? Tell me, if say there's a fraternity that has a bad reputation, let's say, and they're harassing girls. Maybe they haven't done anything really wrong, but they have a bad reputation. Who can I call?
So part of the bystander education premise is that you just have to take action at the time. And a lot of times, Marites spoke about incoming freshmen at a very different part of their life where they're uncertain, unclear, they don't understand maybe, and they're not sure of what to do. So what we're trying to do is give them tools so that when they face that situation, they'll already have thought about it and be able to deploy strategies. So some things like intervening. So if you see a situation where there's a potential victim who is unable to speak for themselves or is obviously not functioning, helping that person get safely home, or the flip side of that would be if there's a potential harasser on the other side who might not understand or might be inebriated himself or herself, that there's something you can do to intervene with that conduct and
Right.
take them away and have them
Right.
start thinking about what they need to do.
It's so hard to step up. I mean, I'm a very outspoken person. I'm aggressive and from New York. And even myself, you know, we've talked about this in the context of child abuse, and you see children maybe in the possibly victimized. And it's very hard to be the one to be, you know, sort of like a superhero. You have to be like a superhero and say, stop, come, help, I can help you. You know, it's great to talk about it so people know that it's an option. I think people don't realize it's even an option to do.
Right.
You know?
And we say if you feel uncomfortable intervening, get help. Get someone else to come, a person of authority or someone who, you know, is able to do that, because we don't want
Right.
them to shy away and then not do anything, period, right?
Right.
You want action in some form. If it's not you, then ask for assistance.
Right, there's always something you can do, as long as you don't ignore it or think it's not my, you know, it's not my place.
Right.
You know, I guess they said, from being from New York, I think every place is my place. So I guess that's what we should tell people who possibly see other people victimized on colleges. It's your place is right in there. You just get right in there and, you know, say something or do something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good lesson, a hard lesson to learn when you're young, particularly, I think. You know, you want to fit in, you don't want to cause a stir.
And some students don't care for conflict.
Right.
Right. And whether or not they know that it's actually happening is part of the educational component too,
Sure.
right? I mean, you see someone putting something in your drink, right? I mean, there's all steps that's leading up to it, and it's just hoping that it never comes to that ultimate point where someone is assaulted.
So how would you address younger girls, younger teenage girls, the high school girls? Like, what would you say? Okay, these are the potential situations in college. I mean, how did you model it?
Well, for the workshop, it's really early intervention, early education in knowing who to contact. You know, as a dad, I had no idea what a Title IX coordinator was and what they did. I thought it was more dealing with sports.
Right. That's what everybody
Yeah,
thinks.
and so one of the advice that HPU and Marites was saying was, you know your Title IX coordinator. You know, try and get to a eye to eye and relationship. You know, closer relationship. At least know that person's name. So that's one for college. One of the workshop nights was having the Sex Abuse Treatment Center come in and do a talk and a presentation, and knowing what sources there are either at the college that they're at or here. You know, the SATC, you may have heard their commercials on the radio, but their services are there, and to contact them if there is an incident. And so knowing who to call, who to contact as early as possible, that's a key thing to know. And so yeah, that's part of trying to tell the students before college. It's really like college prep, but in a social kind of way.
Right.
Because for the academics, the school would take care of that, but socially, some of these schools and my daughter's school, they're very protective.
Right.
It's in a real protective environment.
But meanwhile, then they
you
go
know.
to these enormous schools. One of the partners of my firm, his son is going to school, I don't know, 50,000 people
Yeah.
or something. I'm like, you're coming from this tiny little place and you're just going to jump right in? How can you do that? You need some preparatory work, I think, that just even to leave Hawaii, I think is probably requires some kind of instruction, with respect to just, you're not in the safest place anymore. This feels like the safest place, right? I mean, so.
Yeah,
So
and one of the speakers, we had HPD come in, the narcotics unit.
Oh, wow.
And initially, I had it to where, hey, you got to talk about date rape, drugs, and
Right.
what's out there, because things have changed so much. But more so prevalent is really alcohol,
Right.
which is so easy to access. Not so much
It's
groupies
tolerated too. I mean, I think it's tolerated in a way that drugs are not tolerated. Like I spoke about fraternities and sororities, and it's just part of the social landscape of college. you know, that you get to do this thing when you go, you know. But some people, meanwhile, are going to be ensnared in the web of addiction and abuse. They don't even realize it. And others are going to have their lives ruined by the fact that they took one too many drinks one night and made some bad decisions.
And
So how do we stop that? How do we stop alcohol abuse on campus?
well, yeah, one of the things that the narcotics detective was saying about during college, there's rave parties, and
Right.
there's here. And for example, one of my close friends and was a classmate to and friend to my daughter, they bought tickets to what they thought was a concert, an outdoor concert, but it turned out to be a rave, and the guy that she was with, classmate during high school, but he didn't go to the workshop. But she recognized going to the workshop and getting educated. She recognized, oh, this is not really
A
what
good
they
situation,
thought.
yeah,
and
right.
So part of that early education was seeing what that situation is. They just left early because it didn't look good. And so having that early education, you know, before going to college
Right.
was,
They modeled the behavior ahead of time so they could identify the behavior.
yeah.
You know, Marites, we were discussing earlier what consent means, and this, you know, in law school, there's endless conversations about what consent means, and it's sort of, you know, it's an evolving. The term is evolved. I mean, it's certainly evolved in my lifetime. So, can you tell our audience a little bit about how we teach women what consent means and what, you know, what behavior they're entitled to?
Sure. Yes means yes. That's consent. But yes means yes throughout the engagement of between two people. So it's not yes in the beginning, thinking it's assumed throughout the whole
Right.
process. But it is saying continually asking each other, this is what we want to engage in together.
Right.
That's consent. I mean,
Right.
and that's something I think we take advantage. You know, assume that we both understand what we mean when we're doing what we're doing. So, from a sexual standpoint, that's critical. So, for us, is sort of telling people you're always asking for consent.
Right.
And so we've shown them the tea video. Not sure if you've seen
No,
the
I've
tea
not seen it.
video.
What is the tea
it's
video?
It's a comical sort of illustration of asking providing tea, and the tea is is sex essentially,
Right, right,
understood as
right.
that. And so if he or she says no the first time, then okay, don't provide tea. If the tea this person is interested in the tea, that's great. And then they change their mind from drinking the tea when
Right.
you provide the tea, even
Right.
though you've gone all that trouble making
Right.
the tea.
Right.
So it is just ongoing in saying that you shouldn't you should always ask and always respect what they're saying.
But do kids at this age have the communication skills? I mean, adults I know don't have the communication skills. I don't have communication skills sometimes.
Sure.
You know.
It just depends on your upbringing and your past experience coming into a relationship or thinking you're in a relationship or wanting to be in, and the dating world has changed too in many ways,
Right,
right? The
it
way
has.
the hookup culture has evolved and you do things online. I
Yes.
mean, the online component has
Right.
even made it more complicated.
It really does because, I talk to the millennials in my office and, I say to them, we used to go somewhere and talk to a person and that person is a stranger. Now you meet someone online and then you know them and then you go and meet them or you
Right.
feel that you know them. So
Right.
you feel that, well, this is a potential boyfriend or girlfriend, and you never even met them, so
Absolutely.
it's backwards.
Right, and thank goodness for Sex Abuse Treatment Center. I'm wearing their shirt, the Respect campaign.
I was
and
wondering, I love that
It
shirt.
is, and it's the message is you know the line, meaning how to talk and get consent from your partner. You respect the line, meaning you won't ever take advantage, and then you protect the line. That this whole concept about bystander intervention and helping others. So it's a simple message, but one that needs to continue to be
Oh, I think so, yeah.
repeated.
I
many
think
times.
so. People, it's a simple message, but it's an incredibly difficult thing to implement, to have the kind of discretion and thought in these kinds of situations, because these kinds of are volatile situations. So you can't always retain your composure.
Right, and you plant the seed as early as you can, and I'm sure the maturity level and how parents really, have those conversations at home really then make an impact when they get to high school, get to college.
Right.
And thankfully with these regulations, there's a common thread. Like you can go to one school and say, who's my Title IX coordinator, or how do you make a report? So there's a little bit more consistency, in college and universities today versus it wasn't.
Right, no, it was just not talked about at all. And even, I don't know, I graduated from college, I was a little older when I went to school 20 years ago. Nothing like this 20 years ago, definitely not. Everybody was sort of on their own. There was there was nobody really looking out for you in that way. With your studies, yes, but not personally or socially. So, do you want to tell us? I'm dying to ask you about Denim Day. Was it National Denim Day, or is it?
So, as part of Sexual Assault Awareness Month, Denim Day is a campaign to show support of a case that happened in Italy in the 90s. So there was a rape conviction that the Italian justices had reversed. So women in the parliament decided to wear jeans in solidarity of the victim because the justices had argued that she was wearing tight jeans and she must have helped the man to take off the jeans. So then it changed from, so it was consensual or implied consent.
Right.
And so as part of that campaign to really talk about and say we don't, stand for those types of attitudes towards sexual violence.
I love inverting a message. The most powerful protests have always been able to take somebody's message. I'm thinking of LGBT activists, for example, and use their words against them, use discriminatory, words against them. So I love that you've appropriated that message and taken it and now made it a symbol of power. We're going to take a little break and we'll be back in a few minutes. I'm Marianne Sasaki. It's Life in the Law. Welcome.
You're watching Think Tech Hawaii, offering lifelong learning from passionate hosts and fascinating guests, ready to explore and explain Hawaii's place in the 21st century. Great content for Hawaii from Think Tech.
Hello, I'm Stephen Katz, and I'm the host of Shrink Wrap, which comes to you live every Tuesday at 3 p.m. on thinktechhawaii.com, and then it's repeated again whenever you want if you go to the website. On our show, we will be talking to all different kinds of therapists, psychologists, psychoanalysts, psychiatrists, people who talk about the mind, the brain, and about different ways to find happiness. I myself am a marriage and family therapist in practice here in Hawaii, and I hope you will join us because I've got a lot to learn, you've got a lot to learn, and it's a great ride. Thanks a lot. See you soon.
Hi, you're watching Life in the Law with Marianne Sasaki. I'm delighted today to have Marites McKee, Jan Boivin, is Boivin?
Boivin's fine.
Okay, and Lyle Fong with us talking about April is Sexual Awareness Month. And we were just talking about thinking ahead and strategizing ahead and operating self-defensively with respect to navigating your world. So would you like to discuss that a little bit about how women can think ahead if they're going to be out late at night or, in precarious situations?
Yeah, I think with the workshop, one of the things that was discussed and educated to the kids was have a plan, know your route.
Your escape route,
Your
right?
escape route. There's a phone app that I think Jan and Marites talked about as far as having a link to your friends and say, hey, I'm here. I'm going to my dorm or going to the library.
Oh, that's terrific. My mother would love to have that app.
And
We'll let her.
if she doesn't get there on time, then all of them could get notified and phone in or text concerns like, oh, are you okay? And so those are the kind of tools nowadays with kids and their iPhones and smartphones, something that they can plan for. The last workshop that we had for the Elgin Street was actual self-defense.
Good.
And we had Egan Inouye, who is one of the school parents, not for that year, but he has a daughter. He has several daughters, but one of them just entered the school. And so he and his wife, who actually run a boot camp type of gym, as well as he's been MMA fighter,
Oh, okay.
world renowned.
Wow.
And so his credentials were huge. And so for him to provide the hour and a half of practical self-defense was awesome. And we invited the moms.
Oh, okay. And do they embrace that? I mean, it sounds very exciting. It sounds like something I'd love to do.
I think it was the largest turnout.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we did have that at the school, thankfully, and it was great. It got the daughters and the parents, moms closer, as well as the workshops too, because the first workshop, how HPU was angling it was trying to separate the parents from the kids.
Right.
And that was so that the kids don't feel like the parent is breathing
Right,
over their
it's the
shoulder.
self-expression, right?
Yeah, that they could ask certain questions, and the parents were separated so they can ask their own questions, and so that worked out extremely well. I think that was the first type of format that HPU has done. Usually it's for the incoming freshmen, and that was the whole idea too with the workshop having it in high school, to engage the kids before they get on campus, because usually it's just somewhat organized chaos.
Oh, it's overwhelming. It's
You
overwhelming.
have to find your dorm, you gotta find the library, your books, know
It's
where
huge,
your classes are.
usually, yeah.
There's orientation things for the parents, if the parents do go there, to usually set up the dorm room, so you're doing Target and Costco.
Right, you're running around. Well, I used to live near
And-
NYU, and the partner I work with is doing it with his son now, and it's just chaos. It's
Yeah.
chaos for like a week.
And-
It doesn't settle down very quickly.
And so I think each college is actually mandated to have this kind of Title IX education.
Is that true, really?
Sure. We all incoming students have to do a bystander or educational component online before they even step on campus.
That is terrific. That's terrific to hear.
So
That's great.
It's not unusual. So if I'm going to one college, my friend is going to another, it's sort of the same, you're getting the same message
Right.
from those universities.
Right. Yeah, do you ever have any pushback? Do the students say sometimes, "Oh, we've heard all about this. We don't want to hear any more about this," or "Grown-ups, leave us alone," or anything like that? Is there any pushback, or do they just embrace it totally?
There's only one student that thought she knew everything, but other than that, the parents all had all positives.
Yeah,
on
they embraced it.
and even the students asked my daughter, "So how was it? Did it really work out?" I said, "Oh yeah, it's awesome, Dad. It was good." And it really brings, it's that kind of a last chance gas type of thing with your daughter, with your son.
Right.
As far as college, if they're going off to the mainland. And so it was a real good thing to have that interaction between the parent and their soon-to-be, going off to college.
Bonding
kid.
experience. Yeah. So are there any other events or things I should know about with respect to Sexual Assault Month? Are there talks? Are there seminars? Is anything going on? What should we know? What should the audience know?
We've this is the last week, so
Oh,
we're
it is.
ending it with Denim Day.
Right.
But we like to do it for the whole academic year at HPU, and the idea is that we start off with this event in September called We Care Fair, and the idea is that we get different partners in the community, our support services at the university, like our counseling and behavioral health, to be present, and just to be present to say we're here. You may not need us now, and you may never ever need us, but if you ever do, or if your friends do, we're here. And so the idea is to work also, Jan and I is trying to bring in our neighborhood. Downtown Honolulu has bars and restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
Serve alcohol. Our students will go and enjoy, right? Part of the college experience. And so we just want to have partnerships with them to talk about the Respect campaign, to be, vigilant about perhaps intervening themselves.
I think they ought to know. I mean, I definitely think there's a responsibility there with bartenders, bar owners, club owners. I mean, they have an obligation to the public to make sure that if they see somebody abusing alcohol or they see something getting out of hand, to say something. Dram shop laws, I'm very much in favor of them.
So we do for the We Care Fair in the fall, particularly, and then now again at the capstone, we do offer to reach out to partners like Gordon Biersch, Nashville's, Hooters, who were willing to bring in trainers to teach their bartending staff.
That's terrific.
For example, something as simple as safe barkeeping practices. So
Right.
if a bartender has a tray of beer and they don't leave it unattended for a waitstaff to pick it up, they wait for that waitstaff person to come and retrieve it so that you don't have any types of drugs or anything else introduced into that for that tray. So
Wow,
those
that-
are the types of training.
That seems so dangerous. I mean, now I feel like every place I go, I better watch to make sure my drink gets from the bartender to me, untouched, unscathed. But when you think about what could happen, I mean, anybody could slip anything, I think, into your drink. But where did these drugs come from? Where did they get them? Do we have any? I mean, we're in Hawaii. I mean, they have to ship them in from somewhere, I think.
It's tough. It's tough to fight the notion that Hawaii being an island and a fun place to be, and you never want to talk about the seriousness
Right,
that come
it's
with
true,
fun.
it's true.
That may come with fun.
That's
so
true.
Even battling that mentality or that attitude is hard to get into the
I think you're
mindset.
right. I think I'm guilty, actually. I think you're right. I think that there's a sense of you lulled into the sense of protectiveness and this is some special. But you're right. It's we're America. We look exactly. We have all the same problems. So. But the notion of these designer drugs and how kids can get their hands on designer drugs, it's like, it's scary. I mean, I'm sending my kid off to school, and it's scary if my kid is drugged, but it's scary if my kid is the person who thinks that this is a good idea. It's a good way to meet people, slipping something in somebody's drink. I mean, yeah.
And that's where the bystander, again, I mean, if we have opportunities to work with, for example, Aloha Tower Marketplace was the host of a New Year's Eve party. And so we had a chance to present on sexual violence to the bartenders who were serving that night. And there were probably over 5,000, 6,000 people, right?
Right, it was huge. And that's the top night of the year, right? I mean, anything goes. Everybody goes crazy on that night of the year.
And any opportunity to just have the conversations is, I think, what you need to do, because even we're competing with students' schedules in terms of their interests, their academic life. And so for us to say, care about this issue is, it's a tough one. It's one you have to convince people.
How can we address alcohol abuse? I mean, are there programs is there AA on colleges, or in colleges, or are there anti-abuse programs in colleges that sort of tell kids this is a serious drug, alcohol. This is not. You shouldn't fool around with this. Are there? No.
So we do have several online and in-person alcohol education offerings for our students, and actually we're very fortunate to receive an NCAA grant to launch a peer education program where we're hoping that our student athletes can serve as mentors to some other students on this issue.
That would be great.
Hopefully with that partnership strengthening the message so that there's more of a viral communication of the importance of monitoring alcohol abuse and understanding your tolerance and risks.
There's such a model for other students, athletes. So if you can get them to go with the program, then you have a lot more. You're going to get a lot more people to go with the program, as well. And especially they have a special status. So it's it's a very powerful message if you get them to.
And our
support.
coaches are involved as well. So part of that team culture and when we think about serial perpetrators or multiple perpetrators with the issue of sex assault and its connection to alcohol, getting into cultures like the athletics. We don't have a fraternity or sorority system on our campus,
Right.
but that's athletics and fraternity sororities tend to be the areas where you want additional education.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
been so athletics has been a great partner for Marites and me for HPU's campus.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Well, I'm so delighted that you came here to talk to me about this issue. I don't know that there's a more pressing issue, especially if you're the parents of teenagers or your kids are going off to school. But I think everybody needs to know it because you know what? Everybody needs to keep a mindful eye out, and if they see something, they should say something. So it's a learning experience for all of us. So I thank you so much for coming. And this is Think Tech Hawaii. This is Life in the Law. It's Marianne Sasaki. Join us Wednesdays from 1 to 2. And thank you.
You're watching Think Tech Hawaii, Hawaii's leading digital media platform for civic engagement, raising public awareness on tech, energy diversification, and globalism. Great content for Hawaii.